Nick Saban, college football's greatest coach ever, and maybe all of football's greatest coach ever, but that's a Bill Belichick, Nick Saban conversation. But let's listen to Nick Saban in his own words tell you why this was the time to retire.
Well, I don't think there's any good time, especially when you're a coach, because once you're a coach, you think you're going to be a coach forever. But I actually thought that in hiring coaches, recruiting players, that my age started to become a little bit of an issue. People wanted assurances that I would be here for 3 years, 5 years, whatever, and that got harder and harder for me to be honest about. And to be honest, this last season was grueling. It was a real grind for us to come from where we started to where we got to. Took a little more out of me than usual, and you know, when people mentioned the health issue, it was really just the grind of, can you do this the way you want to do it? Can you do it the way you've always done it and be able to sustain it and do it for the entire season? And if I couldn't make a commitment to do that in the future, the way I think I have to do it, I thought maybe this was the right time based on those two sets of circumstances that, like I said, there's never a good time, but I thought maybe this was the right time.
So there's no illness. It's just the grind and the gruel of the season.
Yeah, there's no illness. Miss Terry's fine. I'm fine. But it was can you sustain the season? You know, from just a mental grind standpoint. And when I was young, you know, I could work till 2 in the morning, get up at 6, and be there the next day and be full of energy and go for it. But when you get a little older, that gets a little tougher, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
Okay, he broke that thing down, and I was like, Nick Saban, golly. First thing you think about when you think about Nick Saban, if you're really knowing some ball, is reliable. Like, you can count on him coaching, you can count on him in brand, you can count on him in messaging, count on him putting you in the right position all the time. That's what I think of. Now, I never played for Nick Saban, but let's just say that's what transmitted every time I watched Alabama football. You just knew that they were going to be there in position to contend, even if they didn't win it all, even if they didn't do it all. It's just the fact that you knew they were going to be in that position. How do you build that? Okay, now I'm listening to Nick Saban talk about what happened and why it's over right now, the age assurances he couldn't guarantee anymore, looking at commits and recruits in their eyes, their families like, I'm up there, y'all. And y'all know it, 72, so let's just say, let's stay in the moment. They like, stay in the moment? My son got to stay there for 3 years. What you talking about, stay in the moment? So the grind, obviously, when you're a coach, you're not taking the physical hits, but emotionally, mentally, in terms of preparation, you pouring your whole body and heart and soul into writing up a diagram that you can't ultimately control. That's the toughest part about coaching, right? You put it all out there and you're like, now you got to do it. Woo, that vulnerability in that moment to let somebody else do something that you created, that you worked on. Got this right here with that flanker going to go to the right and he's going to be deceptive. And then all of a sudden the corner going to bite. We're going to hit him with a double move. And then you get out there and the guy forgets to do the double move. You're like, Lord. So imagine all of that. And he was still able to succeed to that level. The commitment that he couldn't sustain anymore through the season. When you're young and dumb. So you could be committed to stuff that you shouldn't even be committed to, but you're young and you're dumb. You just don't know any better. But when you know better, it starts to add up, doesn't it? Like the more you go through trials and tribulations and you actually can figure this out, but it ain't working, you are not happy. So this year, tremendous coaching effort, but at the same time, they didn't win it all. And I think that is Nick Saban's standard, even though realistically, you ain't gonna ever win them all. So I think you heard him say all of those things that really eroded to the point where he was like, this is the moment. Never a great moment, never the perfect time, but this is the time. I'm glad he retired. No lie. When people were saying he may retire or not, look, I'm going to miss him on the sidelines of college football because I don't know what we're going to get next, right? And that's the next conversation. But I'm going to miss the reliability. I'm going to miss that dependability. But he won in life. Like my therapist told me, he won. And when you win, Enjoy your wins. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when is Nick Saban ever going to enjoy his success if he ain't going to enjoy it right now at 72? Like, when he going to take all the vacations he should? When he just going to kick his feet up and just marinate? You seen his Mercedes before with his 20-inch rims and all? When he just going to ride around town and ain't got nowhere to go? Like, it's time for that, Nick Saban. I'm pumped for you. But as he ride around town right now, nowhere to go, no calendar to live to, and no schedule to abide by, somebody going to ride back in town. And it's interesting because Keyshawn Johnson threw a name out there, I think a name that we all thought about at least, Deion Sanders. Well, he said it, then he started to think about it. Let's listen to Keyshawn talk about Deion Sanders at Alabama.
You know, I thought about it, and I said, could the people that run the university in Tuscaloosa, could they handle that?
Yes.
Could they handle that?
Good question.
That's the whole issue. Let's not get off the fact that it is the Deep South. It is Alabama.
It is.
Okay, it's not a situation where Deion is just a good football coach. He's a big personality that doesn't lend itself to a lot of people in certain regions. So I don't know if it makes all the sense in the world for Deion and Shador and them to go down there, follow Nick Saban. You mentioned 6 national titles, one at LSU made 7. To try to follow. That's a hard act to follow. Let some other fool do that. But one guy that I would say that probably would be a really good fit is Lane Kiffin. That'd probably be a really good fit for them because he understands that whole Southeastern Conference region and Alabama.
What you homies know about that dirty South? That dirty South. Woo! Okay, I ain't spent a ton of time in the dirty South, so let me not speculate. Let me not stereotype. But I will say this. Beyond the race component, because it has to exist, because too many damn people who live down there keep telling me that. And Alabama just don't sound like it's the South. It sounds like it's the deep South. Like, oh, man. No, I've never been to Alabama. I've been to Arkansas, Georgia, obviously, Florida, etc. But I've never, Tennessee, but I've never been to Alabama. And I just wonder, like, you know, you go to Alabama in a position of leadership, is it the same? I wonder. Y'all tell me, beat it up in the comments. But I'm not going to go to the race part because obviously I think that will be a sticking point. And it's pretty obvious what that is. That's why he brought up Lane Kiffin at the end. It ain't Lane Kiffin a better coach necessarily, even though Lane Kiffin is a better coach than Deion Sanders right now. Oh, that's an interesting conversation. We'll talk through that. Who's better, Deion or Lane Kiffin? But the thing is, he got the complexion for the connection. That's what Lane gonna have. So that's what Keyshawn wanted to say. Look, he white, so he gonna be better received in Alabama. All right. I don't think that's the biggest Deion issue. I think that they could have dealt with that. What they can't deal with right now is the question mark of Deion Sanders, the coach. Now, Deion is a good coach. We know that. But he went to Colorado and they did much better. But they didn't win. Let's just get it straight. So to be at Alabama, replacing the greatest coach ever, and you didn't win at a major college football program, even if it was just 1 year, I think that's hard to sell because it ain't because Deion can't coach. It ain't because he black. It's because of this. As soon as you go in there and lose that game to Texas or whatever, they got a schedule next year, you know, people were like, we shouldn't have had him in the first place. He didn't even win in Colorado. You hear that? They already saying it in their head. They just waiting for that moment to come. So I don't think Deion gets that job. As a matter of fact, Alabama came out with a short list, and they had Washington, Florida State's coach, and their offensive coordinator. So Deion didn't make the short list, nor I don't think he wanted to go there. But y'all got to tell me a little bit more about this Alabama. I mean, I saw Mississippi burning, and, you know, I was like, is that Alabama too? I haven't been to Mississippi either. So y'all let me know.